And good afternoon to all of you. My name is Nick Dunn here. It's a little after 4:15 here on June 24th. We are tracking some severe weather across southeast Ohio and into West Virginia. We've already had a plethora of severe thunderstorm warnings, and we still have at least two currently that are valid in our neck of the woods. I'm going to be joined here with Ken McNatt from Titusville, Pennsylvania here in just a few minutes. But first off, I want to give you a quick look at the radar and a quick summary of the warnings that we have in place. Number one, and this is for a Boeing structure or a remnants of what was actually a mesoscale convective vortex a little bit earlier this morning, but nevertheless, right, we still have a severe thunderstorm warning, and this goes until 4:45 for southeastern Perry, almost all of Morgan, a good chunk of Athens and Vinton counties, and also the northwestern sliver of Washington County. I'm going to bring in Ken McNatt now. And Ken, these storms, I would imagine there's probably a pretty vivid-looking shelf cloud. You and I were talking about this as they've just now issued a new warning now for Perry and Morgan counties.
Yes, indeed. The wind profile is not so impressive on the Charleston radar, but it is very much so on the Wilmington radar. Wouldn't doubt if winds are between 50 and 70 miles per hour on the front edge of the storm. So if you are in a warning right now, you should be indoors.
Yes, absolutely, it should be. And real quick, I'm switching over to velocity. Ken, as we were talking about this before we went on, the Wilmington radar has been suggesting several spots with winds over 60 miles per hour. And in fact, right now, just to the kind of on the Perry, Hocking, Athens kind of intersection lines right there, we are seeing some winds very close to 70 miles per hour. Now, keep in mind, we're looking way up into the atmosphere, but this is about the only radar site that I have noticed that is really giving us a good, solid look at these thunderstorms. But right now, New Lexington, Gloucester, McConnellsville, over towards Beverly, down to Athens and Zaleski, all of you remain under severe thunderstorm warnings. Move indoors as these thunderstorms approach. They are moving fairly quickly here off to the north and east at speeds upwards of 60 miles per hour. A new warning was issued for Perry and Morgan counties. That goes until 4:30. I would imagine, Ken, we're going to see a warning here before too long for Muskingum County as these storms look very impressive. We've got a nice squall line. We have these little embedded bowing structures in here, and it's at the apex of that bow that we typically see those stronger winds, and we could be seeing those winds as we saw on the radar. They're perhaps up to 70 miles per hour.
Yeah, and it looks like the apex of those winds is heading right near Zanesville. So it's about to exit the warning area. So if you're in Muskingum County, especially south of 70, in Zanesville, South Zanesville, even in the Philo area, you need to take cover now. Don't wait for the warning.
Yeah, that's some good advice this afternoon. Again, and folks, those of you Zanesville, Cambridge, even up towards Coshocton, go ahead and be ready. Get indoors now. If you have any outdoor activities planned, get those moved indoors immediately. I have not seen any storm reports yet. Actually, we now have a couple just filtering in now within the last couple of minutes. Down in Ross County, we've had wind damage near the town of Richmond Dale, also in Pike County. All of these are being reported from the Ohio Department of Highways in Ross and Pike County. So we do at least have some wind damage occurring, and understand that some of these reports are likely just a little bit on the delayed side, as sometimes it takes these reports just a little while to get in. We do have one warning down here in West Virginia. I want to talk about this one real quick. Ken, this is our newest one outside of the Perry-Morgan County area, but for Roane County, this one here, to me, is more kind of what I was expecting at times today, some isolated development. There could be some fairly large hail. The radar algorithm is suggesting up to 2-inch hail, but the Weather Service has only tagged this for penny-sized hail. I'll tell you right now, from the Charleston area, the hail core is not impressive, but the algorithm is suggesting perhaps up to 2-inch hail. This is an isolated storm, and we have a very low tornado threat still in place for the afternoon and evening hours. If we're going to see something tornadic, it could very well come from a cell very similar to this. Not saying that this one's going to produce a tornado, but again, something very similar to this.
Indeed, it looks like the storms in West Virginia are moving much slower than the storms in Ohio, and it's partially because, well, the storms in Ohio are more linear. The storms in West Virginia are more single or maybe couple or three cellular, and as a result, it's not being picked up by the flow of the atmosphere as readily as the linear storms are. Now, if you take a look down in Kentucky, there's more coming. You know, usually we see one line of storms and that's it, but we're in for more today. So don't let your guard down after these storms come through, because these watches go till 9 and 10 o'clock respectively. So we are expecting much more in the way of storms.
Yeah, and absolutely. And Ken, I'm noticing the storms in West Virginia appear at least to be trying, and I'm not sure if this has been a trend. I'm just getting home and kind of taking a look at things for the first time today since things have gotten going, but they are appearing to try to at least take on a little bit of a supercellular shape, especially these more discrete ones here. Basically, obviously the one here near Charleston, but the ones that are to the south and southeast of Spencer, again, they're trying, and we do have at least a lower threat of a tornado this afternoon across the Middle Ohio Valley in specific.
Indeed, and even if you take a look at the bottom of the linear storm in Ohio, in Jackson and Meigs counties, it looks like the bottom of that line is trying to form into some sort of supercell as well. And you'll notice a cluster of lightning within that storm. So it looks like it's trying to strengthen, and we need to watch that one as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, folks, this is kind of what we stressed today. We told you there would be some potential for some severe weather. We do have an enhanced risk. I'm going to put that on the map here now so everybody can kind of see where that is aligned. So the areas in orange, so this is really southeastern Ohio, east of 23 and along I-70 and points south, essentially, kind of give or take a few miles. And then from I-77 from Cambridge down to Charleston and points east and a little bit west on either side of that line, we have an enhanced risk. This is where the greatest risk of severe weather is for today. That includes a couple of tornadoes and a little bit more potentially widespread wind damage. There is still a slight risk as far west as I-75 and as far north as Lake Erie. We could still see some further development. There's a new severe thunderstorm right now. We'll get to that one in just a second. It's actually a rather large polygon, but outside of that, regardless of that, we still have a slight risk as far north as Lake Erie and a marginal risk as far back as the Ohio-Indiana border. So we're not done. This is just kind of one round today. I mentioned this morning we could see multiple rounds of convection. Well, we have one moving through now. There's more in Kentucky, and we could see further develop across Ohio as we get into the rest of the afternoon. So let's kind of bounce back here into our severe thunderstorm warnings that we have in place. Ken, we told you we thought we'd see one for Zanesville, and here it is. The Weather Service has tagged this one for 60-mile-per-hour winds. However, they've now slowed the movement down just a little bit now to 40 miles per hour. We were seeing some movements upwards of 60, and this is in effect for Coshocton, Muskingum, Guernsey, and Noble counties. This is going to go until 5:15, but not a very good time, Ken, with rush hour approaching.
No, and you want to remember that if you are out or planning on being out on the roads here within the next half hour, 45 minutes, that if you see a storm coming, you may want to delay yourself somehow. If you can, just wait till the storms come through. The polygon just came up on my radar here, and yeah, so definitely not a good time to be out on the roads, and I have nothing to add to that, honestly.
Yeah, absolutely. Real quick, let's take you back over to velocity. I want to show you some of the wind speeds. Again, keep in mind, folks, we are looking quite a ways away from the radar site. Let me switch over to the other velocity products, a little more well-defined. We'll take a look at some of the wind samples that we're seeing here, and also turn off some of these. Let's go and put a storm track on this real quick first, though. So from the Weather Service in Pittsburgh, this is the storm track that they have put in place. So Coshocton 4:58, that's within the next half hour. Zanesville at 5:09, although I think it's going to be there much sooner than that. Cambridge 5:27, that seems fairly accurate to me. Again, this is based on a 40-mile-per-hour movement, so if it is moving a little faster, this will obviously come into your neck of the woods a little bit sooner. Wheeling by 6:20, I definitely think it may be there a little bit sooner. Again, this is based on just a 40-mile-per-hour movement. We'll take a look at some of those individual movements in just a second. I want to give you a look at the wind samples, and I'll turn off some of the arrows there. There we go. Make it a little bit easier to see, and I'll turn off some of the hail indicators as well. Folks, hail this afternoon really not going to be the biggest concern that we have. It's going to be obviously damaging winds, but near Roseville, 68-mile-per-hour winds. North of Gloucester, 69, and again, widespread readings of at least 60 throughout a good chunk of Perry County. Again, keep in mind, we're looking from the Wilmington radar, so this is looking rather high into the atmosphere. So the fact that we're seeing some of these readings where they are is not totally surprising. Ken, have you had a chance to look from Pittsburgh and see what things look like from that perspective yet?
Not yet, but I can switch it on here real quick.
Yeah, let me know if that might provide a little bit better vantage point, and I'll switch over to that. I'm going to kind of put our own little storm track on this. Again, the Weather Service in Charleston has been having this moving at 60. Pittsburgh's got this moving at 40, so we're going to take the average of that, and we'll have this moving off to the east and northeast at about 50 is what we'll do here, and we'll kind of track it off here. We'll take it to about 50, And this is going to bring it into Zanesville at 428. That's a little bit better of arrival time the next couple of minutes for you. Coshocton 440, Cambridge 456, Wheeling just before 6 o'clock, and into Steubenville by 6 o'clock, and then it crosses into the northern West Virginia Panhandle, then obviously there into western PA. So that's kind of a quick look at that particular storm track. Again, this is a linear line of thunderstorms capable of producing damaging winds to 60 miles per hour, and we could see some isolated pockets of a little bit higher winds than that based on some of the other readings that we're seeing. Ken, what's Pittsburgh showing?
Pittsburgh is definitely showing winds in the range of 60 to 70 miles per hour.
Okay.
Also, we're further away from the radar site here, but what do you think about the wind profile near Gray Shot?
Yeah, let's go ahead and switch over to that. So switching over to base velocity there. Yeah, that's interesting. Again, folks, we mentioned a very low threat of a tornado. There's a couple different ways that could come out today. We could see that in the form of a supercell like we're seeing in West Virginia, or we could see it in a linear fashion, kind of what we could be seeing here right now moving into western Muskingum County. So what Ken is pointing out here is we have a lot of green, and then there's this little pocket of gray/light red that's kind of, or this darkish red color. Could there be some rotation there? There could very well be. But there's, in fact, actually, the radar algorithm is actually detecting two different spots of rotation, one to the south of Gray Shot and one to the south of Roseville there in Muskingum County. So there's a couple different areas, but I want to show you some of the winds that we're seeing here. Even the Pittsburgh radar detecting winds up to 60 miles per hour in some spots, a little bit higher than that. And again, this is where it's moving towards. Athens County, most of you have been trimmed down in the morning. Same for Washington County. Just very small sections of those counties remain. Hocking County, you've been cleared. Vinton County, you've been cleared from warnings as of right now. So here's a look from the Pittsburgh radars now. Again, we told you 420, it's going to be coming into Zanesville, and it's coming into Zanesville literally right now, and it's 428. And as you can see, this line of thunderstorms, there are some purple in here. There could be some very small hail. Ken, I have yet to see any reports of hail from anybody in any of our feeds here this afternoon, so I would be curious to see if anybody is seeing anything. We've gotten some reports of Pike County got hit very hard, not surprising. Caldwell, good evening to you. You guys will be seeing these storms in the next little while, especially to your west and north in particular. What else do we have here? Looking at some more comments. Looks like not a lot of people are saying that they have a lot of damage. Amy in Richmondale and Ross County says it came in hard and fast and felt like it came out of nowhere. I'm not surprised by that because these storms are moving very, very quickly. So Terry says in Pike County, in the town of Beaver, things have passed and the skies have brightened up just a little bit. That's good to hear. Hopefully you have no damage there. And Ken, I'm looking at NWS chat. There have not been any reports of damage in the last several minutes. So if there's one positive, that would be a positive takeaway right there.
That is good to hear that there have not been reports of damage yet. Now, I keep watching these storms, especially. I'm actually watching some non-warned storms right now for potential severity. Like, there's one, I keep on looking back at that one in Jackson and Meigs counties in Ohio. There's a lot of twisting going on at the bottom of that storm. I'm not saying there's anything imminent there, but it's something folks in Vinton, Meigs, and Athens counties might want to keep an eye on here. Especially there's a wind profile right over Route 33 in northern Meigs County I'm looking at. There's another storm on the Ritchie-Doddridge County line that I'm looking at right now with a very similar wind profile. That's going to be approaching West Union here in the next 15-20 minutes. It's probably already raining in West Union, but more severe, not severe, but gustier winds and perhaps a little bit of rotation going on there. And again, that's because those storms in West Virginia are a little more single cellular. So there's that going on. And I'm looking through the comments as well on the Mid-Ohio Valley page, and there's a lot of people that are dry right now, and people are wondering about their towns. And right now, like a lot of people are asking about Marietta and Parkersburg and Belpre, and right now you guys are dry. And, there might be some today that based on the nature of these storms, you get nothing today. And that's just going to be the way it's going to be. But for those of you getting storms, well, we were expecting that today. Initially, we were expecting a squall line, but then by this morning, that had changed to anywhere from one to multiple rounds. and apparently we are going to get multiple rounds. So you don't get anything this round, keep an eye to the sky. Keep your weather sources in place because this is not over by a long shot. But yeah, just looking here at the comments, not seeing too much here in the way of comments, but I do agree with some of the comments about people turning on the heat, and I'm like, even up here, where I am in Pennsylvania right now, you go outside and you just get the humid feeling and the feeling that it need not just it might rain, but it needs to rain. And yet, for some, the rain isn't coming yet. And that's just the type of soupy air that these storms need to feed on. Nick?
Yeah, and Ken, I think for some of us, rain is probably the last thing that we need to see for some of us. It kind of just depends on your particular location. I just went back through and answered a few questions, and I'm still going to answer a few more here over the next couple of minutes while we're still live. But understand, if we're not talking about your community, your county right now, you have nothing to be worried about. Down the line, if we're talking about you, okay, then I would be a little more concerned. But let's get a real quick recap of our warnings that we have in place. So for Perry, Morgan, and Athens and Washington until 4:45, another 12 minutes on this one is for the southern tail of this linear fashion of thunderstorms that are working through Zanesville down to McConnellsville as we go off to the northeast at 40. A warning for Coshocton, Muskingum, Guernsey, and Noble counties until 5:15. Winds to 60 miles per hour. Could be seeing some very small hail with that one as well. Really could be seeing. Really, my concern there is the winds to 60 miles per hour. And then down here in West Virginia for Roane County until 5 p.m. Again, winds to 60 miles per hour. The overall motion, and I'll kind of put the radar into it, you can see that the storms in Ohio, particularly north of the river, are moving much faster. And you can kind of tell that, especially the last couple of frames there, as this remnant MCV is kind of really reignited with a nice line of thunderstorms stretching from near Coshocton down to McConnellsville, and we'll continue to monitor that over the next several minutes as well. Again, I'm going to go through and continue to answer some more questions as we can. Michelle says it just hit Zanesville. It looks like a hurricane coming through. That tells me it's very, very windy, and I'm not surprised by that. In fact, let me see if I can pull up here. I'll stop the radar. There is a METAR in Zanesville, and we'll see if it is currently reading anything right now gust-wise, and they are not. And that was the last report there was about 45 minutes ago. So I'll be curious to see over the next little while if the Zanesville airport reports any particular strong winds. Let's go ahead and switch things over now to the velocity, and we'll see. Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
Quick second there.
Yeah.
There is a report of a tree down between the Kroger and Nelsonville and Buckville. Not exactly sure where, but it's probably along the lines of Old Route 78 there, Burr Run Road. So we'll have to get more details about that. But these storms are starting to cause damage, and we're getting some damage reports here. Also, if you look between Albany and Coolville real quick. Go ahead. Yes, between Albany and Coolville, there's a couplet that's catching my attention right now, and that's moving off to the northeast right now. That's crossing the Meigs and Athens County line right now, just crossed Route 33, and there's a bunch of lightning coming up on that, so it's strengthening. There's another couplet just to the northwest of Rutland that's doing the same thing. So I just want to keep your eyes on that.
Yeah, absolutely.
So again, if thunder roars, get indoors, and if you see a flash, dash inside.
I like that. A new report coming in out of Fairfield County from law enforcement. Numerous trees are down in southeast and eastern portions of the county. This report coming south and east of Pleasantville in Fairfield County, again from law enforcement. Numerous trees are down. So those of you in Perry Morgan County, that's what you guys are just experiencing now. Those of you in Muskingum County, there's a report for you to kind of validate what this line of thunderstorms is doing. And then as Ken said here on the southern line, the southern portion of this is not quite attached to the line off to the north here, just a little bit, so these are a little more detached, and they may tend to act a little differently in terms of the environment that they're in. They have a little bit more lightning, and they're a little bit more intense in terms of the amount of rain that they are producing at times, and they're also a little bit more intense perhaps in terms of the cloud structures that you might be seeing out there as well. So we'll keep an eye on these as these continue to shift off towards the northeast. Parkersburg, you guys will be next in line. You're probably within the next hour, I would say, of seeing some fairly strong weather there. We'll get you back off to the north here real quick. As soon as that wind report plots here on the screen, shouldn't be too long. You'll see it here in Fairfield County. I did get a report on the ONW page of a tree down in Logan, Ohio. We're trying to figure out where exactly that is. Jeff says State Route 595, a tree is reported to be on fire. So that is a new report just now coming in. We'll have to see if we hear any further information on that. Ken, are you very familiar with where exactly that is?
Repeat yourself again. I was getting some other reports in just now.
It's okay. State Route 595. We have a viewer saying that there's a tree reported to be on fire in Hocking County along 595. The State Route 595 is. I'm not sure if you're very familiar with where that is.
Yes. That would be just to the northeast of Logan.
Okay. So that would be north of 33 then.
Yes.
Okay. Jeff, I would encourage you to report that to the National Weather Service in Wilmington so that they can get that report. You can also get your storm report submitted in there as well. Let's see here. What else are we reporting? Lyman, nothing for you guys right now. Jamestown, I just answered your question. Let's see what else we got here. Scioto County, Patricia, did you guys see anything as these storms rolled through? Some damage coming in out of Ross and Pike counties. One of those was actually on the Ross, Jackson, Pike County, kind of the tri-county intersection right there where those three counties kind of come together. So real quick, let's give you a regional reset of the radar and kind of show you what's going on all across the area. We have 3 active warnings in our coverage area. We are still watching showers and even a few thunderstorms elsewhere, especially as we get down into Kentucky here in particular. And I'll kind of put the radar into motion over the last hour. It'll take a second for it to load. But we have more thunderstorms in Kentucky. These are traveling north and east. These will likely, Ken, I think, more or less impact our far southeastern counties, probably the West Virginia county, the West Virginia side of the Ohio River, in my opinion.
Yeah, I tend to agree with that. I mean, that seems to be the trend. Seems like round 1 is going to mostly affect Ohio, with a couple of exceptions, obviously, with the supercell type storms. Round 2 will probably mostly affect West Virginia, with, again, some pop-up type storms in Ohio. So that could change, obviously, and we're going to continue to watch that. And while we do watch it, I'm just really not liking these couplets at all. I'm not. I keep watching these, and I have a feeling there might be a warning coming out of one of them shortly. But but that's just my analysis of the radar. The trees down in Nelsonville, there's a couple trees down on Wolf Bennett Road. There's also the down tree that we talked about earlier. It was on top of Mason City Hill.
Okay.
A lot of non-reports, a lot of reports of humidity and sunshine right now, but that's about the extent of it.
Yeah, and looking through the Weather Service, there have not been any severe reports out of the Charleston office as of yet. And the last report that we really had that was severe was out of Fairfield County, and I'm waiting for that report to populate there. So, and real quick, also for those of you in central Ohio, we are still watching a line of gusty showers. There could be a rumble of thunder, especially closer to Cincinnati and Maysville. The southern end of this is also trying to show some kinks in the line, maybe a little bit of a bowing structure with this one as well. This is lifting off towards the north and east. This will come towards Columbus, Circleville, and Chillicothe. Some of you guys have already seen plenty of rain with more rain to come, so some minor flooding issues could also be perhaps on the developing trend as well. Once this gets through, the convection kind of really becomes much more isolated. There are a few isolated showers and maybe a couple of thunderstorms back across Illinois and Indiana, but they are very isolated in nature. It is much more concentrated, much more widespread right now across southeast Ohio, into southwestern Ohio, eastern Kentucky, and into West Virginia at this point in time. So we will continue to monitor that. There is that report there that populated for Fairfield County. We'll take a closer look at this just for location. It looks like it is north and east of Lancaster, not quite into Perry County, but not far from the line. That part of the line is what is coming through Zanesville now, and is actually just past Zanesville as of the latest scan there. So we're going to take a look, turn the regional radar off, and we'll get you back over to the next red radar. And Ken, I feel like the line has weakened just a little bit in some aspects, and it has gained strength in a couple of other aspects as well, as new cells are kind of firing off to the east of this and kind of conjoining with that, as they've just issued now a new warning. And this is going to be from Morgan County only, although it looks like the polygon has been drawn into Noble County, so that's kind of crossing offices. I believe that was probably some kind of small mistake there from the Weather Service in Charleston. However, you see some of these purple cores. That's where you're seeing the heaviest downpours and the strongest winds. And Ken, instead of two smaller Boeing structures, it looks like this may be trying to become just one, based on my analysis of the radar.
No, I totally agree with that. And it looks like the storms to the south are sort of sucking the energy out of the storms to the north.
Yeah, I noticed that just a little bit as well. And what Ken's referring to is down here in Athens, into portions of Meigs, Athens, and western Washington counties. Even from the Pittsburgh radar, we're seeing some higher reflectivity returns. So again, we could be seeing some warnings issued for these in the next little while as well. Right now from Charleston, they have not issued a special weather statement. I do see they've issued a new mesoscale discussion for both of our active severe thunderstorm watches, 439 and 440. Let's see here. I'm just looking to see. They're still saying a tornado or two cannot be ruled out, mainly in eastern Kentucky and western West Virginia, where semi-discrete storms should continue to exhibit some level of rotation, some low-level rotation to the east of Rim and MCV, where 0 to 1 storm relative felicity is locally maximized. And I was just looking at that, and I will say some of those values are trying to push into southeastern Ohio, and Ken, because perhaps some of those values are not quite as high in southeast Ohio. Maybe that's why we're not seeing as strong of any kind of supercellular development in southeast Ohio, unlike what we're seeing right now in eastern Kentucky and portions of West Virginia. And I see there actually is 1 or 2 tornado warnings in Kentucky on that, so I'm not totally surprised to see that either.
No, and it looks like that trend will likely continue into the late afternoon and early evening as round 2 comes through. Again, if you missed out on round 1, and round 1 is definitely not over yet, but if you miss out on round 1, you might get something out of round 2. Definitely not over yet. Definitely not time to let your guard down. And we will be here through the evening as needed.
Yeah, absolutely. And real quick, again, we talked about some of these southern storms exhibiting at least some stronger winds. The cell here to the west of Coolville, and this is from the Charleston radar, is at least exhibiting winds between 50 and 60 miles per hour, so we could see a new warning on that. And you see where these reds kind of spike up a little bit, and then there's some lighter colors nearby. This would at least probably be some broad and probably at least somewhat disorganized rotation. And again, most storms, folks, understand that most storms carry some kind of rotation, whether it be in the lower levels, mid-levels, or upper levels. But that's kind of just what we're seeing there. You can see there are some higher reflectivity values in the mid-50s across portions of Athens and Meigs County, so definitely seeing some at least brief torrential downpours. That's obviously going to cause problems with the evening commute brewing. So real quick, now that we're at 4:45, we'll stay on here for a couple more minutes, and we'll kind of wrap this up, and we'll come back intermittently as needed. Right now we have a severe thunderstorm for Coshocton, Muskingum, Guernsey, Noble County. This one goes until 5:15. Another half hour, although I would not be surprised to see this one either expired or a new one issued or some kind of change to this one here before too long. And then down here to Morgan, extreme northwestern Washington County until 5:15. I just realized that one actually clipped Washington County. Their very small section of that goes until 5:15. Motion right now is at roughly 50 miles per hour on that line. It will continue to slide off towards the north and northeast. And down into Roane County, a warning that continues until 5 o'clock, another 15 minutes on that one for winds to 60 miles per hour. Not, again, the hail threat really not panning out. There was at least some concern we could have some hail today, but that has really, really backed off.
I mean, if you see even One of the last two.
Ken, we got a tornado warning.
Okay, tornado warning. Where?
Yep, we got a tornado warning for Muskingum, Guernsey, and Coshocton counties here in east central Ohio.
All right.
This is
I
going to
will.
be radar indicated. This is until 5:15. So, Ken, if you have a chance to edit the text of our video, that would be great. And I'll kind
Okay.
of read off things. We'll put a track on things. So right now, folks, out of the Weather Service in Pittsburgh, we now have a tornado warning. This is in effect until 5:15 for southeastern Coshocton County, northeastern Muskingum County, and northeastern Muskingum County, northwestern Guernsey County. This is radar indicated rotation. We do not, and I want to repeat, do not have a tornado on the ground or a funnel cloud reported. Let's take you over to base velocity, and I tell you, I'm not seeing a ton. And unless the terminal Doppler of Columbus is reaching that far, I'll have to take a look and see if it does. The tornado warning storm is including cities of Coshocton, Conesville, Plainfield, Kimballton, and Adamsville, and also Dresden. All of you guys are under that tornado warning until 5:15. You're looking at the velocity image right now. So those of you that are watching this may want to reshare this video as we now have some changes. We have an active tornado warning now until 5:15 for Coshocton, Guernsey, and Muskingum counties. This is going to likely be a rain-wrapped situation. You are not going to see any kind of tornado. You see the radar is detecting some weak rotation south of Dresden that is likely shifted as of the latest scan into more of northern Muskingum County. Let me turn on some more of the local roads here so we can kind of get you a better idea as to where we're at. So there's State Route 16 that runs from Frazeysburg over towards Conesville, Route 93, Route 662, looking at some other ones here, Route 83 and Route 541, just to name a few. All of you guys are in the path of this potentially tornadic storm. We told you there could be a tornado or two today, and we now have our first tornado warning of the afternoon. There's the latest scan. Again, right now, if you're in Coshocton, Plainfield, Kimballton, Adamsville, Dresden, although for Adamsville and Dresden, your time is kind of about up at this point. Here's what I need you to do right now. I need you to get to the lowest level of your house or of your sturdy structure. Put as many walls between you and the outside as possible and stay there until this storm has passed. You're likely hearing tornado sirens right now. As you go to your shelters, remember to take your bicycle helmets with you. Put those on over top of you to protect yourself from any kind of flying debris that could be present out there. Tornadoes often exhibit flying debris, and it is very common for people to get struck by that, especially if you're not in your shelter. So I've zoomed out the radar just a little bit. I've put it into motion for you. So right now, Coshocton, you're kind of on the edge of this warning. I would definitely be in your tornado safe place at this time. Do not wait, especially those of you south and east of town. If you're in a mobile home right now, I need you to get out of that mobile home if you can do so safely and find more substantial shelter. We don't like people being in mobile homes. They are not very good tornado shelters. They are more for affordable housing, and I get that. We have a lot of that across the Ohio Valley, really across the whole country. I know a lot of people live in those, but right now I need you to get out of there. I need you to find a more substantial shelter. If you have a tornado shelter at your mobile home park, get there. If not, find a more substantial shelter. Maybe you can, if you have a time, if you're maybe next doors you have some neighbors, or perhaps maybe your mobile home park has at least maybe a rental office that's of a sturdier structure. Find somewhere sturdy and get there as soon as you can. Now, Ken, right now I'm not seeing any reports out of the National Weather Service chat right now. There was not even any mention of a tornado warning being issued, so this is definitely some new developing information. Ken, it looks like the northern end of this is starting to swirl just a little bit based on some of the radar loop data that I'm seeing.
Yeah, I'm trying to catch up here and look at the radar from different points of view here. I can definitely see some broad rotation out of the Charleston radar, but terminal. Oh, did you look at terminal? 449. Yeah, that scan looks pretty impressive.
particular pace very often. So I apologize about the sound not being good, Julie. Hopefully that is fixed now. But as I just mentioned, the storm motion is moving off towards the northeast at about 65 miles per hour. So it is very, very quickly moving. And my concern right now, what we're seeing here, is we're starting to see a comma head feature. And I don't like seeing this. And Ken, I don't know if you've noticed that a little bit as well, especially the last couple of scans, but kind of in between Dresden and Norwich on the northern side of I-70, kind of seeing some interesting signs there. Again, we're still seeing some weak rotation being indicated, but it has been consistent near the town of Dresden as that's working off towards the north and east. But Ken, right now I'm not seeing any reports. I want to stress that there's nothing on the ground. There's no funnel clouds reported, but it's going to be tough to see. I think this is definitely going to be one of those rain wrap situations.
I agree, and it doesn't help that we are in the radar no man's land. I mean, I'm seeing a little bit of a couplet from the Cleveland radar. I'm seeing more of a comma shape from the Pittsburgh radar. But the terminal Doppler out of Columbus is really picking it up to the point where there's some purple in between that means bad data, but it can also mean that there's definitely a comma forming there.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, folks, it's going to be right in between Dresden and Cambridge. And I'm trying to get my telestration tool out so I can kind of show you. There we go. It's going to be this right here. All right, well, we see this kind of feature developing, and especially because now we have it, again, we have an MCV. It's a remnant area of low pressure, or a remnant mesoscale convective vortex, as we call it. Sometimes these, especially as they move into areas where there's been plenty of sunshine or other instability or other factors are taking play, we can sometimes get an extra little swirl to the atmosphere, and I'm afraid that's what's kind of happening right now. This thing is really starting to ramp up just a little bit, and kind of explaining how this is working. So we have winds kind of pushing and wrapping in on the backside, and that's kind of allowing this to bow out. But in the meantime, out ahead of it, you're seeing winds trying to swirl back in from the east and even southeast at times. If you get a southeast wind out ahead of these things, that can actually enhance the tornado threat just a little bit, and I think that's what we're seeing right now, at least to some extent. So I'll put the radar back into motion. You can see it last several minutes. They've updated the tornado warning now and the severe thunderstorm warning that is in effect for this area. The latest update on the tornado warning is that it continues a severe squall line. Okay, so now here's the latest text. A severe squall line capable of producing both tornadoes and extensive straight-line wind damage was located 7 miles east of Dresden to 8 miles northwest of New Concord and moving northeast at 50. They're telling you to take cover now. This includes Kimballton, Conesville, Plainfield, and Bowdoin, also Otsego. I want to stress that Coshocton. Some of you may associate yourselves with Coshocton, so if you're in Coshocton, I would recommend taking your safe place right now. Don't wait, and it's too close of a call for me. So, and Ken, with that kind of text that we're seeing there, that would tell me that we could be seeing some winds well over 60 miles per hour at times, even if there's no tornado occurring.
There's without a doubt some strong winds going on there at the very least at this point. I mean, it's about to go out of the range of the terminal Doppler, and that's unfortunate. And this thing continues to twist up, so it's either a very, very powerful downdraft microburst or some sort of weak tornado event or something going on there. I would be shocked to see no reports coming out of this eventually. If there are no reports coming out of this, I'd be completely shocked.
Yeah, I would have to think there at least some kind of report of maybe some wind damage or something along those lines definitely occurring with this thunderstorm. So again, folks, if you're just now tuning in, I'm Nick Dunn along with Ken McNatt. We're tracking a tornado warning that is in effect until 5:15 for southeastern Coshocton, northeastern Muskingum, and northwestern Guernsey counties. I understand a lot of you probably want to know about places like maybe Zanesville over towards New Lexington and Athens, as storms are either passing through now or have already passed. And we'll come back to you, but right now this tornado warning takes high priority and takes top precedence. This is a radar-indicated rotation signature, and as you can see there on the screen, that little green rotating circle, that is where the radar algorithm is suggesting that there could be some rotation taking place right now. That is to the east of Dresden, north of Norwich, about to move into more of Coshocton and eventually portions of Guernsey counties. Again, folks, this is a radar-indicated rotation signature. I want to stress I repeat, we do not have a tornado on the ground. We do not have any funnel clouds. We do not have any reports of wall clouds. However, in that defense, we are not going to be able to see that. And here's the reason why. We are completely kind of wrapped up in rain. Where that rotation is occurring, If you look out ahead of it, there's heavy rain. If you look inside that area where that rotation signature is occurring, there's plenty of rain taking place. So, Ken, folks that may want to go out and see this, that's not a very good idea. Folks need to be in their shelters right now.
Yeah, I'd have to say this is one event you're not going to be able to see ahead. If you're under the warning, you should not be anywhere but indoors at this point. This does look like it's trying to straighten out a little bit more and become more of a wind event. According to Terminal Doppler in Columbus, and I realize that it's getting further away to the point where it's almost out of range, but Terminal Doppler out of Columbus is indicating winds from 65 to 75 miles per hour. That's top-tier tropical storm, Category 1 hurricane strength winds.
Yeah, and again, folks, so the Terminal Doppler, which again I don't have access to pull up right now, but that gives us a much lower look into the atmosphere and into the storm itself. So when we get a lower look at things and a lower tilt, and we see winds of that magnitude, that is kind of verifying what we're seeing from our other NEXRAD sites like Pittsburgh or Cleveland or Wilmington or Charleston. If they're suggesting winds of 50 to 60, but the terminal is suggesting a little higher, that validates that there is definitely some strong winds occurring somewhere within this thunderstorm. So we are now moving on towards 5 o'clock p.m. It's rush hour. A lot of you may be getting ready to head home from work or other evening activities. However, this is bad time. We've got a line of very strong thunderstorms capable of producing extensive wind damage, and now even a tornado now for portions of Coshocton, Muskingum, and Guernsey counties. This is not to take away from what we're seeing across other portions of Coshocton, Muskingum, Guernsey, Noble, and Morgan, and even Washington counties. But right now, this tornado warning takes precedence. We will come back to the severe thunderstorm warnings as we can. So if you're just now tuning in, locations in the path include Kimballton, over here towards Conesville, Plainfield, New Cumberstown, that is over into Tuscarawas County. Should this continue, we could see a further extension of that warning. We are keeping a very close eye on what the Weather Service out of Pittsburgh is saying. Right now, there's nothing out of that Weather Service office at this point, other than the fact that there's still a tornado warning in place. They've updated the severe thunderstorm warning to include winds to 60 miles per hour from, again, that's still in effect for Coshocton, Guernsey, Muskingum, and Noble counties until 5:15. We could see a new warning coming out now any time for more of Guernsey and Noble County as this line is about to exit or has already exited in some cases that polygon. So we'll have to watch that closely. But Ken, I'm still concerned, and we've not seen any updates, but what's the terminal Dopplers? Are we still? I know it's still kind of very close to being out of the range, but what is it suggesting? In fact, as you're looking at that, they've updated the tornado warning again, still in effect for all three counties: Coshocton, Guernsey, Muskingum. Although Muskingum County is all but out of the warning at this point. It's a very, very small sliver of Muskingum County. I'm not sure there's actually even any communities in the path. Coshocton, you're also now in the clear. Conesville, Adamsville, you're in the clear as well. You guys can, for the most part, I would think you're okay coming out of your shelters. But Ken, what are you seeing on terminal Doppler right now?
This is definitely trying to become more of a wind event at this point. There's less of a rotation involved. There's less of a comma shape. Winds are still being indicated between 65 and 75 miles per hour, particularly just to the east of a line between Conesville and Adamsville, heading toward Plainfield and eventually New Cumberstown. So again, like Nick said, if you're in New Cumberstown or Port Washington, you need to take cover now.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, there's that tornado warning box there until 5:15. Severe thunderstorm warning also goes until 5:15. But again, I expect some new warnings could be forthcoming at any given moment as these storms continue to march on off towards the east and east and northeast at this particular point in time. So as I kind of zoom out the radar just a little bit, we are now I'm beginning to see these storms along the southern periphery of this are trying to join up a little bit, and we could see this line kind of regather itself and re-strengthen and kind of reorganize as it's working towards and now approaching and getting on that I-77 corridor and points to the east.
Yeah, that's what I'm starting to observe here as well. That, yeah, this is more like one solid line, and storms from, say, the Beverly area all the way down toward Rio Grande are joining into the line. And if you see that shield of rain between, say, Middleport and Ripley and down towards Sissonville, that's sort of weakening a little bit because it seems like the focus is becoming more toward one line.
Yeah, I've kind of noticed that as well. As I put the radar into motion, you can really see the northern end of this. There's been a nice surge north and eastward. It has really bowed out over the last couple of frames especially. Again, that red box is the tornado warning. The yellow box is that severe thunderstorm warning. And based on the current radar algorithm, we have actually lost the rotation signature. So that's good. That's one good sign, and maybe we'll see if that trend continues over the next little bit as this storm continues to progress on towards the I-77 corridor. So Cambridge, you should be getting hit pretty hard right now with some torrential downpours and some really strong winds. So if you live in Cambridge there into Guernsey County, right now Katie says in Dresden it was very bad. Let us know what you saw there. Did you see some strong winds? Did you see any hail? How much lightning did you see? All those things we like to take a listen to as we continue to watch these storms progress towards north and east. I still see just a little bit of a calmish shape south and east of Coshocton, looking from the Pittsburgh radar, but it's definitely not nearly as pronounced. Again, that doesn't mean that it won't become repronounced, but we could see some other strengthening and things like that happen on the northern periphery of this line in the next several minutes. But nevertheless, very heavy rain, very strong winds, torrential downpours, lightning, and again, perhaps even a brief spin-up tornado, all within the realm of possibilities here over the next several minutes. Katie says, yes, there was some small hail. Sierra says it's very bad in Cambridge right now. Stay indoors. Ken, I'm kind of surprised we don't have a severe thunderstorm warning east of this line, unless Pittsburgh, and I'm not seeing anything out of the Weather Service office that would suggest anything. They do continue the tornado warning. It's moving northeast at 65 again, so it's picking up speed. They've now dropped Muskegon County out of the warning. They're still in the text, though, saying a severe squall line with both tornadoes and extensive straight-line wind damage. So they're still obviously seeing something in the storm there that they've continued with that particular wording in the tornado warning text.
Yeah, I'd agree, and it looks like the most pronounced signature I'm actually seeing out of the Cleveland radar, and it's definitely much less tornadic than what it was earlier. It's definitely more of a straight line thing at this point. Yeah, I don't see anything to suggest otherwise at this point. And if the warnings are to continue, it'll probably be another severe thunderstorm warning rather than a tornado warning. And then my focus goes more toward the south as those storms continue to join the line. I'm a bit intrigued by the idea that those storms might fire up here in a short bit, because those are moving into an environment that hasn't really seen anything yet today.
They did just drop the warning for Roane County. It's gone now, so that's expired a little bit ahead of time.
Okay.
So all of our warnings are now on the Ohio side of the Ohio River, and that's not surprising. But again, if you're just now tuning in, it's just after 5 p.m. Ken McNatt is with you here. I'm Nick Dunn. I'm with you here as well. We're tracking a tornado warning for Coshocton and Guernsey County now. Muskegon County, you guys have been allowed to expire from the warning. You guys are all clear. You can come out of your shelters. That includes those of you in Dresden. That includes those of you in Adamsville. You guys can come out of your shelters. The tornado threat is over. But we still have a tornado warning for places like Plainfield and Kimballton until 5:15. And I would even caution some of you in Newcomerstown, again, where I'm not seeing anything out of the Weather Service office that would suggest that they're going to issue a new tornado warning. I'm kind of surprised we don't have new severe thunderstorm warnings in place. However, that may just be because of the fact we're not seeing any reports of anything going on. They will sometimes issue out of the abundance of caution, but if we're not getting the reports, they may not issue those particular warnings. So Renee says it was bad here in Zanesville. Winds, tree fell down in front of a house, and tornado sirens are going off. Renee, what is your exact location? Are you north of 70? Are you south of 70? Are you right along 70? I'd be very curious to see where exactly you're at with retrospect and location as to where this particular line. And there's our new severe thunderstorm warning that we were just talking about. This is going to be for Coshocton, Muskingum, Guernsey, and Tuscarawas. And they did not tag this tornado possible, so that's one positive. But this goes until 5:45. Winds to 60 miles per hour. It's moving off to the northeast at 50. Ken, I'm not totally surprised to see this.
No, me neither. I mean, it's losing its tornadic capabilities. That's not the right word, but I'm sort of trying to tornado potential. There we go. So it doesn't surprise me because the wind is still there. It's just, it's no longer wrapping up. It's no longer really rotating all that much. So that's probably the right call by the National Weather Service on that one. I'm still waiting for warnings to pop up at my end. My connection's a little slower me not being at home right now. So
Yeah, and that's perfectly fine. So again, this includes basically all of Guernsey County. There's a couple small sections of the county that are not included, and they actually did include. Okay, in the text, okay, I see where they included it now. They're south of Senecaville, and Noble County is included in this as well. They do have, wow, they got Belmont County included in that too, but the polygon itself does not quite include Belmont. I'm kind of shocked by that one. But nevertheless, we'll go with it. So let's get you the full list of counties. So we got Guernsey County, Coshocton County, over here to Muskingum County, Carroll County, Belmont County, Tuscarawas County, Noble County until 5:45. There's a line of severe thunderstorms extending from near Coshocton to 7 miles northwest of Cambridge to Byesville, moving northeast at 45 to 50 miles per hour. Wind gusts to 60 miles per hour, the main concern there. As this continues to work off towards the north and east, we're showing you the base velocity right now, and we'll show you some of the values. We're seeing winds perhaps over 60 miles per hour, especially south of I-70 right now between Cambridge and Senecaville down into portions of northern Noble County here. So again, that warning goes for several more minutes here, and the warning will be set to expire here at 5:45. And Ken, I agree with you. We are definitely not seeing much in the way of any rotation at all from the Pittsburgh radar, especially. I know we're looking some ways away. We look at storm relative, and there could still be some broad disorganized rotation on the far northern end of this line, and perhaps that's why they're continuing the tornado warning. But I'm not seeing anything on my end that would warrant a new tornado warning to be issued.
yeah, I mean the rotation's all but done at the northern end. All the rotation appears to be at the southern end now, and there doesn't seem to be enough of a concern from those reading the radar in Charleston for them to be worried about it to the point where they would issue a tornado warning. It's just broad rotation at this point. At least that's what we're getting out of this, because there's several areas on the southern part of the line in Washington and Athens and Meigs counties that appear to have broad rotation, but there's definitely a lot of lightning, and there's been several observations of lightning and thunder to the west, and that's about right. So we'll continue to follow that.
Again, we'll stay live here until at least the tornado warning has been allowed to expire, and then we may kind of take a little bit of a break. Ken, I'm watching this line here back in southwestern Ohio. It is starting to get its act together just a little bit as well.
Yeah, let's take a look at that. Oh, yeah.
So it's starting to organize itself just a little bit.
Yeah, it's starting to at least straighten itself out and at the same time bow itself out. If the southern part of that can bow down a little bit and straighten itself out, we might get something severe out of that as well, and that would definitely affect south central Ohio and the western counties of the MOV coverage area as well in the next few hours. That line actually looks more impressive to me than some of the stuff in Kentucky.
Yeah, and we'll take a look at that line here before we wrap up this particular broadcast. But again, folks, the good news right now, while we still do have one active tornado warning, and you should still be in your safe place right now for places like Plainfield and Kimballton, we have a tornado warning until 5:15 for you. The good news right now is we have not received any official damage reports. Now, we do have some reports from some of you of some damage, but again, right now from the Weather Service, we do not have any official storm reports out of the Pittsburgh office or out of the Charleston office officially. The last report we got was at 3:55 p.m. out of Fairfield County near Pleasantville, where there were reports of several trees being downed across eastern and southeastern portions of Fairfield County. And while we're talking about that, let me take a look and see if there are any power outages to contend with. I'll get you some of those numbers, and we'll zoom back into the tornado warning only because of the fact that it's still in place, and we have our newer severe thunderstorm warnings, and are kind of including Cambridge and points off to the north. If you're traveling up I-77 right now, it's probably a fairly rough go. I would recommend not traveling until these storms get past. And right now, looking at power outages across Ohio from AEP, there are some. Muskingum County right now, they're leading the board at 3,822. Perry County at 1,357. Hocking County is over 1,000. And everybody else is at or below 100 with the exception of Vinton County at 639 at this point in time. So, Ken, looks like we've had at least some kind of damage in Muskingum County that has allowed the power outages to skyrocket up over now approaching 4,000.
Yeah, just in 4 counties you mentioned, there's 6,800 out, but that's over 100 separate outages. So it's not like a lightning hit a huge transformer and took everybody out at once. According to AEP Ohio, there's over 100 separate reports that have made that number. So it might take a while for the power to be restored for some of you.
Absolutely could. And real quick, Ken, we were talking about this line to the southwest. We now have a severe thunderstorm warning on it for Adams, Brown, and Highland County until 6 p.m. I'm not totally surprised. And here's this line, and we were going to wait to show you this, but we do have a warning. I know for some of you this is out of the area, but I do want to touch on it real quick. Mainly including Mount Orab and Hillsboro. This is along US 62, south of 71. This particular line of thunderstorms has begun to show some signs of bowing out just a little bit. We'll take you over to the velocities, and yeah, here's where we're seeing some of those stronger winds, especially in portions of Brown County, north of Mount Orab and north and west of Sardinia. And we'll show you just how strong some of those winds are right now. Over 50 miles per hour being indicated. So again, not totally surprised that we are seeing a warning issued here. Again, this goes until 6 p.m. for portions of Highland, Adams, and Brown counties. Ken, they actually did tag this one tornado possible.
Yeah, terminal out of Cincinnati is indicating rotation to the northeast of Mount Orab.
Okay, and the Wilmington radar was kind of suggesting something briefly there as well on a much weaker basis. Yeah, there could very well be something there. So let's take a look at this real quick. So those of you now in Hillsboro, I would be treating this as if you were under a tornado warning. It's kind of easy to see probably from the tornado Doppler of Cincinnati, but from Wilmington, kind of what I'm going to draw this out here just a little bit. And Ken, it's these little kinks. And you kind of see these, and it's not very straight lines. So there's definitely maybe some minor twisting of the winds, and it could be just enough to produce a brief spin up, maybe similar to what we just experienced there across portions of Muskingum County.
And that's exactly what you need to watch out for in these lines, especially as they're forming and especially as they're weakening. That these lines tend to bow in and out, they tend to kink, they tend to allow for inflow and outflow. So when that happens, you might get some tornado signatures. It doesn't mean there's a tornado there, it doesn't mean a tornado is going to happen. It just means that the potential's there. And the terminal out of Covington just got a new scan, and the signature's still there.
Real quick as well, they did expire the tornado warning, Ken, so it's a little bit early, although just a couple of minutes early, but they did expire that tornado warning for Coshocton and Guernsey County. So we now have no active tornado warnings in the coverage area as of right now. That is obviously subject to change. But let's give you a quick recap of all the warnings right now that we have in place. You will see that red polygon jump off your screen here any second now. But right now, our newest warning, well, we're going to work from west to east. So our newest warning is for Highland County, Adams County, Brown County. This is until 6 o'clock, tornado possible. Treat this as if it were a tornado warning. A little bit of a kink in the line and a little bit of a bowing structure taking place. Winds to 60 miles per hour possible there. Severe thunderstorm warning remains in effect for another minute. In fact, I'm not going to touch on these because they're actually expiring now. But our only other active warning at this point is for Tuscarawas, eastern Coshocton, northeastern Muskingum, all of Guernsey, portions of Noble, Belmont, and Carroll counties until 5:45 for winds to 60 miles per hour. This is a squall line with embedded bowing segments, and at times it has exhibited some signs of rotation. We did have a tornado warning on it a little bit ago that has been allowed to expire. But Ken, both of these lines exhibiting at least a damaging wind threat, and you can obviously get a very brief spin up every once in a while. So I think that threat will continue despite the fact of us not seeing a high number of tornado warnings.
Agreed, and that's the type of storm we're going to be seeing all evening. So again, this first round is about to go away. Don't let your guard down. Second round is coming up, whether it be from southwest Ohio or from eastern Kentucky.
Yeah, absolutely. So again, folks, right now, since we don't have any active tornado warnings, this really was just going to originally be a brief update on what was going on, but obviously things have changed just a little bit. We had a tornado warning that's been allowed to expire. If you live in New Philadelphia down to Cambridge along 77 or north of 70 along that, I should be saying, if you live along and north of 70 from Zanesville to Wheeling, keep an eye on that particular part of the line. It's been still exhibiting some signs of weak rotation at times, but more of a gusty wind threat. Those of you in Hillsboro, I think if we're going to see a new tornado warning, it's going to come out of that spot, and we will continue to monitor that very closely over the next little while. So for Ken McNatt out of Titusville, Pennsylvania, I'm Nick Dunn here out of Columbus, Ohio. We're going to end this broadcast for now because we have no active tornado warnings. We will come back live intermittently through the evening as needed, and of course, if new tornado warnings are issued, we'll come back live and talk to you. Have a good evening. Stay safe when thunder roars. Get indoors, and remember, if you get under a warning, get into your safe spot and stay there until these storms have passed. Have a good evening, everybody.